Hi everyone, welcome to the playoff edition of the Bison video blog. With Jeff Kolpak, I'm Dom Izzo. We got a week off. You got your Thanksgiving off, so to speak, from football at least. Did it refresh you? Are you ready to rock?
Really refreshed.
Well, here we go. It's time for the second round of the playoffs, Jeff. The Bison enjoyed a bye week last week and now get set to host James Madison at the Fargo Dome Saturday at 3 o'clock. The Dukes come in after a win. They won at Eastern Kentucky on Saturday, a game-winning field goal at the end, 20-17 to advance. And now they get to come to Fargo, much like the Bison last year, Jeff. They are playing red hot. They've won 3 in a row, all of them must-wins, including 2 on the road to come here to Fargo.
Yeah, and they have a quarterback who rarely has lost. And in fact, I think the only games James Madison really dropped, the only tough part of their season was when
Justin Thorpe.
Justin Thorpe, thank you, was suspended for 5 games for a violation of team and university policy. So what you have is a team that's really good at the running game, and again, we said this all season. The teams that have beaten the Bison the last 2 years are the teams that can run the ball, and that will obviously be the key on Saturday.
JMU ran it 68 times for 228 yards on Saturday. Let's just go back a few weeks ago. Youngstown State racked up 240-some-odd yards against the Bison. That has to be concern 1A. At North Dakota State this week.
Well, I think there's 2 concerns on this game, Dom. Number one is the NDSU offensive guard tandem of Tyler Gimmelstead and Austin Richard healthy. Richard hurt his knee, Gimmelstead hurt his ankle. There wasn't a press conference today. It got postponed tomorrow because Craig Bull's interviewing on one of those 35 jobs. Just kidding, Coach. But are they healthy? And I guess we'll maybe find that out as the week goes along. We haven't had the chance to ask that question yet. And key number 2, you have Rylan Drevlo back at nose guard. Can he and Levon Perry disrupt that option game of Thorpe and running back Daquan Scott, which was where they got most of their yards against Eastern Kentucky?
You look at the last 2 games of the regular season for NDSU. You go back to Youngstown State and Western Illinois. Both teams ran the ball extremely well. That's after Ryan Drevlo was out. Can that be that big a key that the Bison run defense suffered that much with Drevlo out of the lineup?
Yeah, we asked that question, though, last year when Matt Grotzik was out of the lineup, and Illinois State ran all over the Bison with 2 100 rushers. Grotzik comes back, Bison run defense stiffens up. While Drevlo was out, we saw a lot more running room by opposing teams. Now that he's back, we'll see.
Now, NDSU had the benefit last year, Jeff, they, as you mentioned, getting healthy and also playing well at the end of the season, minus the Missouri State game as James Madison comes in here red hot. Craig Bull emphasized that the players did last week. They needed the week off. Do you believe that kills any momentum, or they can restart this machine that they've been on all season long on Saturday?
Well, I think it depends on what your biggest need is. And I think the biggest need for this team, obviously, was getting healthy. I heard somebody say they saw the team coming off the plane at after the Western Illinois game, and everybody was hobbling except the radio guy. So, no, I think this team had a priority of getting healthy and more than maintaining some sense of momentum.
Now, this is a unique situation for the Bison at wide receiver. We've talked about this guy, it seems like every week, Zach Vraw. We had the story last week. Both you and I talked to Zach last Wednesday at about 2 o'clock. He goes out and practices that day, the day before Thanksgiving, and re-breaks the collarbone that he broke in the season opener, and now appears will have to use a 6-year of eligibility. How much does that change the Bison passing attack on Saturday?
Well, it doesn't change it, but again, it puts more emphasis now on Nate Moody, the true freshman walk-on who became the 3rd receiver, who's made some contributions here late in the year. Warren Holloway, Ryan Smith, you're going to have to do a lot of repetitions and maybe some more 2 tight end sets. But does it change it? No, but does it affect it? You know, Zach was missing all season too, so let's not say it's not like you had a 55 reception guy who's not playing.
Do you think they were counting on him to come back and play? In my opinion, I think they were. I think they had their hearts set, and you could tell by Craig Bull's reaction on Wednesday, and he was despondent about Vraw's injury. Obviously, you're upset for the young man not getting a chance to play, but I think they were counting on him to come back and play.
Well, certainly. I mean, they need that depth. I think they need in that passing attack, that controlled passing attack with Brock Jensen leading. You know, they're really good at those 10, 12-yard outs. And Zach Vraw is 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds, which is an ideal receiver size for that passing game.
Now, Jeff has the lead in our FCS pick'em. Mainly because he went with the CAA all season long. And let's go back to the Bracketology show where you said, and quite accurately so, the CAA is the best league in America. And when you said it when the Bison got a tough draw, there can be no argument here as the Bison are potentially looking at least definitely one CAA opponent, and if they advance, maybe another in Towson. The CAA won both games this weekend. James Madison won, and Old Dominion routed Norfolk State. They have all 5 of the 16 teams left in the bracket, still belonging in the CAA. This is not a play-in winner against a number 2 seed is what I'm trying to get at. This is a good team coming.
This is not Robert Morris coming to the Dome. No. This is not Albany or somebody like that, or a team with a reduced scholarship league. This is a team from the CAA. And I wrote the column last Friday, and I've said it pretty much all season. I'm still waiting for somebody to agree with me. Would you agree with me?
I definitely agree with you. I never argue with that.
NDSU has the toughest road to the title game of anybody because you have to go through 2 CAA teams and most likely a Southern Conference, which has Appalachian State and Georgia Southern. Oh, by the way, have you heard of those 2 teams?
Yeah, those teams are pretty good. Mind you, though, Georgia Southern plays Old Dominion this week. Maine goes to Appalachian State. I wouldn't be surprised either if both CAA teams won there. Granted, they would be road upsets, but it wouldn't surprise me completely yet if that happens on Saturday afternoon. One final note about the game: they're bringing out the gold jerseys again. Surprised when you heard that announcement? They're going to wear them on Saturday?
Not surprised. I'm not a real fan of those. I think they look like the Shrine All-Star jerseys from North Dakota. You know, the green. The only difference is it's not red pants instead of green pants. But you know, it's. If the fans like it, so be it.
I want to mention something here before we leave about the possible, it looks like blackout locally of the game available on television. Right now, ESPN bought the exclusive rights to all 19 games, Jeff. They have decided to put all 8 second-round games on ESPN3, their internet-based only availability. The Bison had a couple games on this year. Customers in Fargo through Cable One will not be able to see the game. People in West Fargo and Moorhead will be able to watch the game. How much of a deal is this? Is it a deal only to us in the media? Because obviously it's going to help ticket sales, no doubt, and it should be a sellout on Saturday. But is this a story that could balloon out of control? That could get ugly on Saturday, right?
Well, I just think it's unfortunate, more than anything, that the fans can't see the game. I'm not sure the ins and outs of this ESPN deal. That's a backroom thing where they have exclusive rights. ESPN3, you know, most people, 98% will go, what's that? You know, you have to
not be able to get it either.
Yeah. So obviously the best way, I think, is to go to www.bisonmedia.areavoices.com, log into my friend Dom and I and Kevin Schneff and follow along.
We'll have a cast of thousands at the Fargo Dome. WDAY is not allowed to shoot local highlights either. We're not. We have to follow what ESPN's policies are in this. So I'll be joining Jeff and Kevin on the live blog on Saturday, which should be a raucous atmosphere at the Fargo Dome. It's got to be a sellout, correct?
It will be, yes.
What you saw out of the James Madison fans, you'd expect probably some. I mean, granted, it was a shorter trip to Richmond, Kentucky from Harrisonburg, Virginia, but they traveled well. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a good contingent of JMU fans on Saturday.
Well, their stadium seats 25,000 people, and they have a new stadium, virtually new. It looks very cool. So that kind of a program usually travels some fans.
We'll hear from Craig Bohl tomorrow. There is some openings in the college football world, as Jeff joked about earlier. Kansas is open after Turner Gill was let go. Obviously, the Bison beat Kansas in Turner Gill's first game.
It's all speculation, Dom. There's no credible evidence that he's interviewing anywhere or interested anywhere either.
I will say this, though. There has to be a lot of schools that at least have Craig Bohl on their radar after the season he had last year and this year, and especially his track record of beating the FBS schools. He has to be on the radar, right?
Well, maybe, but you know, hiring an FCS coach is not something that FBS teams do. The Mike London's from Richmond. That's a pretty rare thing. Plus, and I'll say this, you may think this is a pretty good program up here, and we all seen it, but to hire a guy from North Dakota, it's not exactly sells the press conference.
To echo your point, just go back to Jerry Kill when Joel Maturi said, we're going for the big name guy, and they went with a Northern Illinois coach. Do you remember the feedback? It was rancorous, actually, in Minneapolis.
And that's Minnesota, which hasn't won since 1930 something. So
it was not
okay, 1960, but you get the point.
But the point is that the fan reaction and even the alumni reaction was not all that supportive when Jerry Kill came from a really successful program in the MAC in Northern Illinois to go take the Minnesota job. So we'll see what happens there, but a lot to happen this week. The Bison and James Madison, 3 o'clock, the pregame show on WDAY.com with Jeff and I, and then the live blog and postgame show after. It should be fun. The Bison and the Dukes Saturday in the FCS playoffs.